Well, it's been a while, hasn't it? My next video was originally going to be the process of making a repeat eat-a-bag and talk about Oshikatsu culture, but the siren song of a flower-themed chapter brought me right back to this couch. The whispers of Asriel coming home from college are now turning into shouts that I simply can't ignore, so I've come back from touching grass to hang out here and stroll through the garden again. In the latest Nintendo Direct, Toby Fox revealed that Deltarune Chapter 5 will not only reflect the prophecy's predictions and Gearson's battle background, but this game is coming out in less than a week of me filming this. I have returned with more theories held together by glitter glue, hopes, and dreams. I will also touch upon my previous Asriel ramblings, which I have to say, I did a pretty alright job, all things considered. We're not doing a recap here. Let's get right into it. Points from my previous video that are correct. Asriel is the glue holding the family together. Asgore tries to present a bouquet to Toriel at the beginning of Chapter 4, not through Chris this time. After being rejected, Asgore makes a comment saying, "I hope Asriel will be able to see us all back to normal." That's incredibly heavy. What doesn't necessarily help is Asgore is saying this to his flowers. We'll probably get some fascinating personas of these little buds in the upcoming chapter. There's a clear problem with the parent dynamic. Toriel has moved on while Asgore feels like there is still a chance, especially after finding some damning evidence in a secret scene. We're gonna get back to this in a bit. But I'm already sensing something awkward or brutal is going to happen at the festival to set Asgore and or Toriel off, because both of them are on completely different wavelengths. I wouldn't be surprised if Asriel had to be the family mediator that kept things balanced. Any big eruptions like the one I'd mentioned could cause turmoil for the family as a whole, and add additional pressure on a child that's already trying their damnedest to be perfect and fill multiple roles that they didn't sign up for. But Toriel is doing well, I think. There's a lot of back and forth about Toriel and Sans being bad parents at the ending of Chapter 4 for basically saying, "Oh, hey, so I'm at the church that's currently being sucked into an alternate reality, and there might be some other people too. Oh, actually, I'm just getting drunk with my new boyfriend." My thoughts about this? They need therapy. All of them. Asriel and Des are dating? Here's a caveat. The signs are looking likely. Asriel's retainer, his shirt, his CDs, Des's rated M content on the Dreamer family TV. These two are tied to the hip. Whether they are dating or just very close friends, who knows? Not to mention the lost girl and the crying boy, which just absolutely guts me. There are some conversations too saying that a lot of the knight's moves resemble Hyperdeath-Asriel's. There are a lot of connections between the two, and it's made it increasingly difficult to find Hyperdeath-Asriel content on Tumblr as of late. I wonder why. Which I should mention, related, by the way, Des's death and or disappearance is either straight up forgotten or too much of a hot topic to bring up. Seeing how Carol reacts when Susie, Noelle, and Chris enter Des's room, Carol is not dealing with the trauma that well at all, which is understandable. We still don't know how, when, or why Des vanished, but it's looking more and more like a freak accident. Des is absolutely haunting the narrative and remains in details of the cast that surrounds her. She also remains in my fog machine. Just stop haunting my fog machine. Hello? Thank you. She's lingering in the story as much as Asriel is. Not to mention the fact that the entire Holiday family has been involved in the Dreamer family's lives for an incredibly long time. Even after her disappearance, there is some semblance of trying to keep things together until it was unmistakable that the damage is done and there's no way to come back from this. Which leads us to Trauma. Trauma has definitely happened here. If we're examining how on earth Chris handled such a traumatic event, I can't even imagine how Asriel kept this bottled up for so many years, especially with going out on dates with other girls and this good boy image that he had to maintain. I'm still leaning on the fact that Asriel might have been pressured to let all of this go or had to swallow this all internally. Besides, he's the older brother, and Chris definitely needed a shoulder to lean on. Chris has gone through something absolutely horrific, and I think Asriel is the closest person to the situation that understands. At the same time, the color from Asriel's life had been ripped away. Des at least let Asriel experiment and break the rules, with no one around to really help cope with the circumstances and be forced into his own little cage. No wonder he went out with Bratty. He wanted to break free from those jail bars of perfection. I hate to say this, I don't blame him. I think the dude crashed out. I'm going to bring this into things that we discovered. The first note that I want to really emphasize is the How to Draw Dragons book. There was a development in this that I did not expect at all. Of course, purple dragons are brought up in chapter 3, but if you look underneath Des's bed in chapter 4, there's a crumpled up drawn dragon that is probably by Asriel. Des definitely has an influence, and I'm thinking that he's so traumatized of what happened that holding on to this dragon book is the closest thing that he can get to still holding on to her. No wonder why that book was rented out for so long. There's hints that Asriel, Chris, and Des may have visited the Dark Worlds before. Sham is present on Asriel's computer, and a lot of the cast from Chapter 3 remember Chris, and Tenna definitely remembers Des and Asriel, maybe as an object looking outward, but knowing how Ralze reacts to you, as if he doesn't know you, there's a good chance that maybe Asriel, Chris, Des, and Noelle maybe have played pretend as kids, or maybe visited these worlds together. Now, new detail, that green lizard is a thing of the past. Enter the sword magician, which I absolutely love it. It's iconic. And this scene definitely shows the disconnect between the player and Chris. Asriel wrote a poem to Caddy about her eyes resembling cat food. And listen, disgusting description aside, this is fucking adorable. Just him in his little suit being like, I wrote you a letter, teehee. It just warms my little goth heart. I can't go into theories without mentioning the candle system at church. Honestly, I remember panicking at this part because I thought if you prayed for one over the other person would die, just knowing how visual novels work. When Chris prays for Asriel, it comes off as unbelievable. I'm gonna save the rest of this section for theories because I have two things I kind of took from that. So what do I think is going to happen? I don't know. I know you probably came into this video and went, ah, the girl that wrote that 3-hour essay about Hyperdeath Asriel and basically dissected Asriel's character since the end of 2015 would surely know when college Asriel would arrive, the dialogue he would say, even down to the outfit he wears. No, this game has been so unpredictable. It has grabbed me by my hair and made me fight a Titan in chapter 4 out of 7. Susie is aware Ralze is an object and cannot be brought into the light world, which I didn't think would happen until chapter 6. We saw Undyne go into the shelter and there's the potential that they're going to die? And don't get me started on the weird route. The archive tags on AO3 and my therapy apps did not prepare me for what the hell is happening over there, nor do I really want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. Honestly, I feel like the theory people who have the post-it notes with all of the events pinned to their bedroom wall with tape and ribbon and whatever, muttering about Pepis and oversaturated images of Woody. So I'm gonna take a deep breath. And I'm gonna embrace the chaos. I have my own insane, twisted fantasies outside of college Asriel being a burnt-out golden boy who went from listening to church tunes to blasting Depeche Mode while putting on makeup. All of these theories have no correlation. These could all be completely wrong, but at this point, we're just having fun. Future theories for Chapter 5. Going back to that section with Asgore, he knows something that he shouldn't. He found something damning to prove his innocence in what would cost him his job, potentially his marriage, and his role in the disappearance of Des. Whatever it is, it's not looking good. Considering the themes of jealousy, Asgore is taking on a real dominant role for Chapter 5. The fact that he found a black shard, which you need to create some sort of crazy weapon by a Sham, is already riding the line between Asgore is creating a dark world and or Asgore is the secret boss and we're getting that black shard by force. Or someone else is going to be taking that from him. Also, Photoshop Flowey mechanics. Photoshop Flowey mechanics. Flowers in front of Papyrus's house. Is it possible Flowey exists in every universe? And is it possible that Flowey and Papyrus are friends in every universe? If I hear a howdy and it's not coming from Asgore, I'm going to McFrickin' lose it. I'm going to lose my mind. Which brings me... I'm sorry, I just need to compose myself here. Is he actually coming back? Is he? Is Asriel coming back? Listen, I'll take either returning. Flowey as another flower, or Asriel, or both. I just want them to be happy. I was under the influence 7 chapters would equal 7 days, but the days have been really inconsistent with the chapters, and I keep seeing flower imagery, and you have waited long enough, and Toby Fox, you are teasing me. Now that we're done with the rapid fire theories, I'm separating these last 2 concepts because they're both a little out there. I'm putting this one in particular as my second craziest theory because this is definitely my craziest one, but the one that's tied closest to canon lore. I think it would be interesting if Asriel is phone guy. Okay, not that one. There's not a lot to add to this admittedly, but what's really getting me is the line at the end of chapter 4, which is, "You promised." I don't feel like that's a line Carol would say. That sounds something like a brother would say. Can you do this for me? You promised. So phones don't operate in the dark world. If you use your phone in the light world, the only ones who would be able to reach out would either be the knight if they left the shelter, Carol, who already called and then called later in their own voice in the weird route, Asgore or Asriel, someone that Chris would have saved as a contact, or Gaster for all we know, being this godlike being haunting the world of Deltarune, but I'm honestly not putting too much weight into that. We still don't know Asriel's true role, whether he is someone who just barely exists or is the driving force of this plot, or both. That leads me to the candle scene. Chris's uninterested reaction could either be a, well, why would I pray for Asriel? He gets everything he wants. He's doing great. He doesn't need someone to pray to. Or if we're going for intrigue, I'm having really conflicted feelings and I don't want to show that to the player. If Asriel had experience with Dark Worlds and participating in church, he knows the prophecy pretty well and what would happen if things go to hell. Potentially, if we're getting real skeptical here, I'm thinking Des and Asriel had a sucker punch / bridge to Terabithia moment where something horrific happened while they were playing with their own imagination. Or they found something that is a glitch in their own matrix and they knew too much. Maybe satisfying the prophecy would bring Des back and maybe have another sacrifice take her place. He knows about the crystal shards if he knows Sham. He has an absolutely alarming amount of purple dragon related paraphernalia. Maybe past him wanted a story where a purple dragon saves the day while another person perishes. A badass cool kid, similar to Des, who is a bit of a bully but becomes the bright, burning sun of hope. It doesn't help that the heroes reflected in Ralze's original prophecy mirrors Chris, Des, and Asriel. Deltarune's story is probably a story Chris had seen years and years leading up to this point. And now that Chris is old enough and the Dark Worlds have returned, they know what they have to do. Even if what Chris has to do is unpleasant, at least in this route, they promised. Again, this is all a theory. And now that I've rambled on about some absolute craziness, let's just get a little bit crazier. It started out as a shower thought. I had my 5th anniversary shirt in a pile to pick up when I got out because, of course, it's my favorite shirt and it has Asriel on it. And something hit me like a meteor. Okay, I actually have to be kind of careful when making that comparison, but it stuck with me for months. I had no way of deconstructing it into proper words or as a ramble on TikTok. So, doing what I do best, I wrote it down and I let it be. I did a flip through of my Asriel commonplace, which is 74 pages in. I will do a tour soon. And that particular note got one commenter's attention. Why is this on your Deltarune page? Let me answer that. Why does he look like that? I'm not the only one seeing this, right? This is a shirt that came out in 2020. This is an Undertale shirt. And nobody really gave it any thought, which I didn't either. I always thought the star was the ability to save. This came out before Chapter 2. I know Toby Fox's merch is very, very curated, and I know for sure that Ralze was created around the same time as Asriel. I think it's fascinating Ralze has a very flowery themed shirt, and we're now at Chapter 5, full of flowers. He greets you and introduces you to the game. Like Flowey, he has a Titan etched in his bedroom and he doesn't bother adding furniture because he says he doesn't deserve it. And he is well aware that he looks like Asriel. If this artwork is just Hyperdeath Asriel is actually a Titan in Undertale, okay, I see that. And that's clear enough. If this is also Ralze is a Titan, and that's the ending of Deltarune, then I think it's a nice alternate universe to Asriel's fate in Undertale. Is this shirt foreshadowing something that took years in the making? Hyperdeath Asriel in the 10th anniversary is well aware of the amount of time that has passed. Is Des going through the same suffering at a slower pace? Is Asriel being dragged into that very shed by the night? Is there a real chance that Asriel is never happy in every universe and is cursed by the narrative similar to his dearest friend? Will he always lose the one that he holds closest to his heart and always perish trying to save them? Would we get the chance to save Asriel and Ralze? Or do we really have no choice in this universe? Whatever happens, no matter what is underneath the veil, I'm thankful we didn't have to wait too long for another chapter. Deltarune's release format is unusual in comparison to other games that I've played, but honestly, I think it really works to its strengths. It's generated so much hype, theories, fan art, and content. When I went to the Deltarune meetup at Anime Boston, people were still so incredibly pumped for the upcoming releases, and the love has not died down. I'm so thankful that Undertale has not only lived on for 10 years, but the Undertale Deltarune community strengthened with each Deltarune chapter and Undertale event. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some important work to do.